Okay, so to follow up on that last video where you were just staring at the whiteboard the whole time, I thought I would, talk to you face to face instead of just having you continue to look at the board. So one of the reasons that Arthur Miller decided to write the play is, to defend his friends and everything else. But because he had a clear agenda that he was really sending a message that this was like, a new, a witch hunt, basically, that the idea of the communists, were being everywhere was sort of a witch hunt, and that people who were innocent were, of course, being targeted and were in fact not guilty of treason or anything like that at all. So he really did not stick to the facts of the case. He created this whole relationship between Abigail Williams and John Proctor that never existed in real life. Abigail in real life was 11 years old and John Proctor was a 60-year-old man. In the play, he has made Abigail 17, I believe, and John in his 30s. And so, still quite an age gap and still very, inappropriate. But, in real life, that relationship never happened. In the play, it gives her a motivation, which makes her unreliable. And so that's something that, and she's spreading this fear and she's spreading this hysteria and she's spreading these rumors. But she has a motivation, a hidden motivation that, is driving her from within. And so Miller was using these characters and this idea of the witch trials to basically say that the McCarthy hearings and the, HUAC committee and a lot of the other punishments that were being doled out to people who, again, had opinions that were perhaps not considered that favorable at the time, that they were being treated in the same way that, the people in the witch trials were being treated. Now, most of them were not losing their lives. They were losing their jobs, but that meant, they couldn't support themselves. They had to get jobs that were not what they had wanted to do with their lives. It was not what they had been training for. And so, people who were actors and writers and producers and all of these, people who had put real work in were no longer able to practice their trade. And so he felt that it was, it was criminal, basically, what the American government had done to the people. And so he was trying to point out that just as the government of Salem had killed these 20 innocent people, the government of the United States was unfairly persecuting basically these people with oftentimes with very little evidence, or sometimes no evidence at all. Maybe one person had said one thing, once I saw this woman, her name was on a list, and, then that woman whose name was on that list lost her job. There's a real woman, her name's Annie Lee Moss, and she lost her job just because someone said they once saw her name on a list, even though there was more than one Annie Lee Moss in the phone book for that particular city. And so, people were losing their livelihood for what he saw as, very little reason in many cases. And so he wanted to point out that there was this hysteria that was sort of overcoming everything. And so, although some of the facts are true, the same people die in the play that died in real life. Some of the, same people were involved in the trial. There were a lot more judges in real life than were in the play. You can't have, a dozen judges in a play, that would just be overwhelming. There are already a lot of characters in this play. But, some of the inaccuracies are talked about in the play itself. So as you're reading or listening to it, you will hear them. Other ones, I might, remind you of or make note of as we go. But I just wanted you, as you're reading, don't take it as a historical document. Look at it through the eyes of, this man is making a comment on what hysteria can do to a community and how it can sort of tear a community apart and, cause people's lives to be ruined because of this sort of unreasonable fear that's not based on logic or reason overtakes people. All right. And I will, hopefully hear from you soon, and I will talk to you again probably later.